Hey guys,
where I normally get my eyebrows threaded. I used to do waxing and I switched to threading.
How I do my eyebrows because of the pictures that I post. So stay tuned for an updated, in-depth brow tutorial.
Hello everyone. So welcome to how I fill my eyebrows in. So the products that you will need are whatever you use to fill your eyebrows in. I use the Anastasia Brow Wiz in the shade Ebony. It has the product on one side and then it has a little spoolie on the other side, which comes in handy. So whatever brow product you prefer, you go right ahead and use that. But I'm just showing you how I do my eyebrows with the Brow Wiz. I prefer brow pencils over brow powders. Some people are like ride or die for brow powders, and if that's you, that's perfectly fine. Use whatever you're comfortable with. Also, I don't usually clean up my eyebrows with concealer. I don't usually find the need to, but if I do, and for the sake of this video, I will clean up the eyebrows just to show you the difference. I'm going to be using the Benefits Erase Paste, and mine is in the shade number 2 medium. The brush that I'm going to be using is this concealer brush by Bare Minerals, a little mini concealer brush. I alternate between this and the Sonia Kashuk 106 or 105 brush. I'm not really sure which one it is. I'll have it linked down below. But today I'm going to use this one because that other brush is dirty and I was a little too lazy to clean it up. Just being honest. I wear contacts and I wear glasses. Whenever I don't have contacts, I'm wearing glasses. And I literally can't see anything without them. So I'm going to try to keep myself in frame as best as possible. So pardon me if I do at any point go out of frame. I just have to get very close in order to see what I'm doing because, well, the second these things come off, it's like a whole nother world out there. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the spoolie side of my Brow Wiz. In case I didn't mention it, I use the shade Ebony. And I'm going to brush my brow hairs up. Some people tell you to start at like the middle section of your brows. Some people like to start in the front. You start wherever you feel comfortable. If you if you've never really filled your brows in and you don't know what feels comfortable to you, you can follow along with me just to see if this technique works for you. But brows are best, they're an individual thing. So it's like once you do it a few times, you'll realize what works best for you. So the more comfortable you get, the more freedom you'll have in the techniques that you decide to use. For today, I am going to start in the front of the brow, but I'm going to use a very, very light hand. The reason why I'm starting at the front of the brow with a very light hand is because I find that for beginners, that helps you shape the rest of the brow. Now, I'm going to take my spoolie to get right into that line that I just created and just ever so gently blend it up. Okay? Now I'm just going to do the same thing with very light pressure. I'm going to go ahead and create a line across the bottom of the brow, following the natural shape of your brow. And I'm just extending my tail ever so slightly because the tail of my brows on both sides is a little short. So I'm just going to extend it just a little bit. Now that I have my baseline in there, I'm just going to go over it a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to take the spoolie and I'm going to try to brush my hairs down, but you want to be very light because you don't want to blend that line that you just created. You don't want to blend that down. You just want to face the hairs down. Now I'm going to start at the front of the brow again. and really lightly, even lighter than I was on the bottom, gonna create a little line. And you don't want to ever just like create one straight line all the way through from front to back. You want to use a little light feathery motion, kind of like this, like if you were, what is it, a conductor conducting an orchestra. You just want to like a little feathery motion. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do this all the way to the tail of the brow. I'm not creating the arch yet, I'm just creating my line. Then I'm just gonna go ahead, blend that in. You're gonna blend that downwards ever so lightly. Now that I have like a general shape of the brow, take a step back, look at the brow, and look at where my arch is supposed to be. On the bottom, it helps me to look at the bottom, honestly. On the bottom, around here is where it starts to actually have an arch. So if this is where it would point at the bottom, I always like to tilt my head too, that makes it a lot easier. Then I'm just going to drag that up a bit, and this area right here is where my arch would be. So I'm just gonna go back in and very lightly start building up my arch. You always want to make sure that you don't just draw the arch in right there. You want to start again. You saw how I started a little bit up forward, built the arch, and connected it to the tail of the brow? That's what you want to do. You never just want to sit there and just draw the arch, because you can have a disconnect and a gap and an empty spot in the brow. So you just want to start in the front, work your way back, and connect it to the tail. Alright, now I'm just going to lightly fill in the brow. The front of my brow is a lot thicker than the tail of my brow, so when it comes to the front of the brow, I'm very light-handed with it. When it comes to the tail, the arch in the tail of the brow, you see how you can see the difference in color? You see how you can see that this is a little bit more sparse than here? I'm going to apply a lot more pressure when it comes to the arch and the tail of my brow. Oh, I didn't even put this in the tools that you would need. You're also going to need a brow gel. I'm sorry about that. A brow gel or a brow sculpting gel. The one I'm using is by Ardell, and it's their clear brow sculpting gel. The one that I love is the one from Anastasia, Beverly Hills, but I ran out of that and had this as a backup. So this is what I'm using until it's gone, which I have a very, very long time until this is gone. But that's okay. So anyway, when you're blending the product out, you want to brush the hair in the direction that you're going to lay it down at the end, because that's going to make it a lot easier for you to see if you're missing anything or if you have any patchiness, if you're going to have that in your end result. Because once you put a brow sculpting gel in your eyebrow, that's it. You want to think of it as, that's it, it's done, it's set, there's no touching it, let it be. So you want to make sure that you are happy with the results before you apply that. Now I'm going to go to the front of the brow. You see how I have some hairs here that are very sparse, and you can see where the thicker hairs start. What you don't want to do is have a completely thick dark brow from beginning to end. You do want the front of your brow to be slightly lighter than the rest of the brow, because that gives you a more natural looking brow. So my goal on my personal set of eyebrows on this side is to just shade this in just a little bit so that there's not such a disconnect between this part and this part right here. I'm going to make vertical lines, again using a very light hand. There we go. and then blend that in a bit. If you brought it in a little too far, that's okay. You can wipe it away, clean it up. And doesn't that look a little bit better? You still see the disconnect. That's just the shape of my eyebrow, but it just looks a little bit more natural, and it's not such a huge difference as before. And all that took was just a few strokes and a little bit of blending. So I'm pretty happy with the shape of this brow. I could set it now, but I'm actually going to wait until I fill in the other brow, because you can be happy with one eyebrow, and then once you do the other one, you might realize you need to do a little bit more over here, or take away a little bit something over here, because the goal of doing your eyebrows is to create as much balance as you can. Your eyebrows are not twins. They are not going to be exactly the same on both sides. Nothing on you is perfectly symmetrical. When you do fill in your eyebrows, the goal is to get them as symmetrical as you possibly can. So this one is my problem child. Everyone has a problem child. What is it that they say? They have like a Gucci brow and a Walmart brow. This is my Gucci fleeky brow, and then this is my Walmart brow. I don't even know. Is there a more discounted store than Walmart? Because that would be what this eyebrow is. Again, I'm going to brush my brow hairs. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to try to do this with my right hand without
like looking crazy in the camera.
I'm going to start in the front again, ever so gently, ever so softly. Create my line, blend that up a bit, and now I'm just going to go along the bottom of the brow, creating my shape. Again, extending my tail ever so slightly. Okay, so now that I got that done, I'm going to leave that there and just brush my hairs down, being careful to not apply too much pressure and blend that line that I just created downwards. And now I'm going to create a line at the top of the brow. Just connecting the front of the brow to the tail of the brow. Again, I'm going to look at the bottom and see, okay, this looks like this is where my arch is on the bottom. So I'm just going to drag the brush up a little bit, and this is the area that I'm going to create my arch. So I'm just going to go back in. Again, you never just want to start at the arch and just boom, make an arch. You want to start a bit in the front and work your way back. Once you get the shape that you want, fill it in with a little bit of a heavier hand once you get the shape. And don't forget to fill in the tail. Also, don't forget to look straight on. You see how this one is a little bit more pointed than this one? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my spoolie and just run it over that area and soften up that point. And now I need to just fill in the front of my brow a little bit. Just a little bit, and blend it in. And if you feel like you need to add a little bit more to the other side, you have the freedom to do that because you didn't add your sculpting gel or setting gel in there yet. So this is it. These are my brows. Okay, I think, let me just double check. I think I'm pretty happy with those. So, up close and personal, this is the shape of my brows that I've created. Now before I set them, I'm going to go in and conceal or clean them up or highlight the brow bone. That's the perfect thing about using a concealer, is that you can conceal any mistakes that you've made, clean it up a little bit, make them look a little bit sharper, and highlight the brow bone all at the same time. So I'm just going to open this up, and I'm going to try to show you in one hand here. I'm going to take my concealer brush and just dip it ever so slightly. You really don't need much product. Do you see how much product I have on here? The teeny tiniest amount. Then I just like to take that and spread that out on the lid of the jar. Just work that product into the brush, take off any excess product. There you go. For this, you are going to want to start more in the middle of the brow, because the middle of the brow, this area right here, right in the middle towards the tail, is the part that you're going to want most highlighted. And then from the middle of the brow to the front, you're going to want it like a kind of like a gradiated effect, so that you have the least amount of highlight in the front. So I just kind of find a spot and plant my brush, and then lightly fan it out. And you are going to want to extend it slightly past where you extended your brow. And I like to put it a little bit, almost right up against the brow, but a little tiny bit lower. Apply it, and then you can go back in and just pat it up into the brow so you can get it a lot closer. And that way you don't run the risk of messing up the shape of the brow. Okay, so once you get it in the line that you'd like, very soft. I'm not using a crazy bright color, although you can. Then you're going to go in, and with that concealer brush, you're going to blend it downwards. When it comes to the front of the brow, I like to just raise my eyebrows up a bit. And we're blending it downwards. See how that gave it a nice, this is what I like to do. I like to use the Benefit Erase Paste in the shade number 2 medium for a more natural highlight and a more natural way to clean up the brow. You can always use a lighter color to give it an even more lifted or a more dramatic highlight, but I just like something nice and soft. There you go. So again, I'm going to show you again on this brow. I'm going to take my brush, dip it into my product ever so slightly. You need a little bit more. There you go. Just get a nice little ball of product. And then I'm going to go into my lid and just tap it out. Getting rid of any excess product, but also working that product into the brush. I'm going to go back in here, right underneath the arch. I'm going to plant the brush there. See? I plant it so I have like a little marker. And then blend that out towards the tail of the brow and extend it a little bit past the tail. Then I'm going to come in and work my way towards the front of the brow. Once I have my line where I want it, then I'm going to go in and take that same brush and just blend that product down. And like I said before, when I get to the front of the brow, I raise my eyebrow up a bit so I can get a nice smooth blend. There we go. You can always add more product to your brush than I do, or even less if you'd like, whatever you're comfortable with. And then I always just like to run over it with my finger to make sure that there are no harsh lines. because this is the most natural way to clean up the brow for me. Now, I don't usually go and clean up the top of the brow, but if you were to do that, you do the same thing, but you would want to start like at the tail of the brow and just plant your brush at the arch, a little bit at the, like towards the rounded part of the arch. Make your line out to the tail, extend it a little bit, and blend it up towards your hairline. Then you would want to come in and work your way up towards the front of the brow. But I don't ever really clean up the top of my brow, like ever, so I'm not going to. But if you did need to do it, it's just the same technique as the bottom. Now I'm going to take my Ardell Brow Sculpting Gel. You use whatever sculpting gel you would normally use, or whatever setting gel that you would normally use. The only trick that I can really give you for this, for setting your eyebrows, is when you pull the spoolie out, to run it against the tube, container, and get off any excess product, because a lot of times if you have too much product on this spoolie, when you run it through your brow to set the brow, what you end up doing is removing some of the product that you just worked so hard to put on the brow. So you can eliminate that altogether by just removing some of the product. Now, when I apply it to the front of the brow, use a very light hand and brush my hairs up, and then bring them back and just swipe through the rest of the brow. So here we go. I'm taking the spoolie out, running it against the container towards the front of the brow. I'm running it up, pulling my hairs up, and then I'm gonna put my hairs in place. Applying just a small amount of pressure. And there you have it. That is how I fill in my brows and clean up my brows should I ever need to. This is what it looks like. There you go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it a little bit helpful and a little bit better than the last one. My lighting again is going in and out. I just feel like I'm not meant to have a brow tutorial up, because every time I try to fill a brow tutorial to make it better than the last one, it never really comes out better. But that's okay. I'm still going to film them. And if I change anything up, or if I find a way in my routine, if I change anything up in my routine, or if I find a location or somewhere, or where I have better lighting or a way to get better lighting, then I'll film it again so that you guys can see nice and up close and personal what I do. But I do think that this brow tutorial was better than the last one. So I'm still going to upload this one. Now, I hope that you guys found this informative and helpful. I hope that you stay tuned for my next video. Thank you so much for stopping by, and until next time, see you soon. Bye.
Don't forget to let me know what you guys think of this video, and also don't forget to thumbs up, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and on Snapchat.